Welcome to the first ever Mindfulness in America conference happening in New York City. It's a pleasure to welcome you here. I didn't realize it when we first chose this venue, but we decided to do the Mindfulness conference in probably the busiest city in the country, and probably on the busiest street in the busiest city in the busiest country. Grand Central Station is that way, Times Square is this way, and so it's also really perfect that actually we're doing it, I think, right in the heart of New York City. So thank those of you who live here and have come, and also thank those of you who've traveled from far and wide to come. It's really a joy to be here with you. My name is Soren. Sometimes people say that I founded Wisdom 2.0, but I feel like it founded me. I was just living my life, and all of a sudden this vision came together of how do we live awareness, wisdom, and compassion kind of within this crazy, wonderful, bizarre times that we live in. So we have an evening event with Jewel, so we'll bring her out in a minute. But before we do that, I have a few logistical things, and I want to help you all connect to each other before we begin. So before we do that, I would love for you to sit in a place where we can just tune into our body and mind. I know it took a lot of you a certain amount of work to get here. And while your bodies are in the room, happily, let's just stop for a moment and see if we can help have our minds arrive also in the room together. So sit in whatever way is comfortable when you feel like you're both upright and dignified. And I find it helpful to have my feet firmly on the floor and my hands rested on my knees. And if you're comfortable, you can gently let your eyes close or just lower your gaze. And then invite your awareness inside. And just see what you notice, what calls your attention. And invite this awareness to notice the rhythm of the flow of the breath in your body. Not trying to breathe any certain way. Noticing the pattern or the rhythm of the breath. And welcoming whatever shows up or whatever is present in your mind, your body, your heart right now. Knowing there's nothing to control, nothing to change, nothing to fix. Just bringing an awareness to whatever is true in this moment. And then when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes or look up from your gaze. So you've connected, hopefully, just even for a few moments internally, and now I'd like to invite you to turn to a person next to you and introduce yourself and say one thing that's been fun or interesting that's happened in the last 24 hours. And if there's nothing fun or interesting that's happened in the last 24 hours, you can say what you wished had happened in the last 24 hours. And we'll have about 3 minutes. So one of the things that is always interesting for me as like a conference organizer is how to put together like a great program, content and speakers and music and conversations, but also how to foster community and connection among you. And because that's really where it's about. You can listen to all kinds of great speakers, and that's wonderful, but it also comes back to how do each of us live our lives and the importance of community and connection in that. So my invitation is to see this as a co-creation. So when a Jewel comes out in a few minutes or another speaker comes out, partly what inspires them is by the quality of the presence in which they step out into. So if a speaker is stepping onto stage and he or she looks out and most people are on their phones, that creates a certain field, right? And it's very hard in that field to just bring it. And if a speaker comes out and he or she is welcomed by this like spaciousness and this quality of presence, that has them say things and do things that they never thought possible. And they don't do that because it's inside them, but they also do that because we co-create a situation and you all bring that out in them. So I would really invite you, this is both true for tonight, but particularly true for tomorrow, that if you're watching a talk or something and it's not super interesting to you, see what you can bring to that conversation energetically, because that impacts what is said and what is spoken. So you're already doing a great job of it, just to let you know. Because it's this field that we create together where actually the magic happens. It's not just in what is set up here, it's like what we co-create together. So in that spirit of co-creation, we'll have tonight, and then we'll have a full day of activities tomorrow. And to the degree that you can do that, it would be very. I would greatly appreciate it. And the talks that come from that are just much more powerful. And unlike some conferences like TED and other conferences where everything is planned and scripted, and like I can't say exactly what their idea of a great conference is, but certain conferences, their idea of a great conference is that everything goes just as it was planned, and just everything goes just as it was scripted, and all the talks are exactly on cue. We have a little bit of a different orientation, and our orientation is to show up and be present, that's the number one thing. And that when we show up and we're present, there's organic conversations that emerge in the moment that we never knew could have existed had we overly planned it, a week before. So there's this organic nature, which I find super exciting. So the panels and the talks, some people have prepared them a little bit, but the beauty is actually what organically comes through us in the moment. And so you might see some of our panels or conversations and interviews that are happening tomorrow. There'll be moments of silence, there might be moments of disconnection, there might be moments but to me that's life, right? Life isn't just this special neat little box, and a great talk is somebody who can just repeat the same words over and over again in the right form. The best conferences and the best talks are things that actually have tension in them and have silence in them, and they have to work it out and figure it out. So in the Wisdom 2.0 world, tension is actually really positive, silence is really positive, and trusting what organically wants to come forth is also really positive. And so you guys are part of that exploration, or part of that adventure, and part of that journey.